Welcome to a very special episode of the IELTS Plus English podcast, where I'm here in a lovely sunny garden in the UK. So if you're listening to this podcast, perhaps things sound a little different. Unfortunately, you can't see, but if you go to YouTube, you will see where I am. And right now, I'm in my parents' garden in the UK. To be precise, I'm in a little village outside Nottingham, which is a very nice, medium-sized city in the UK, around the middle of the UK. I'm here for a week, and I thought it would be a really good idea to do a bonus episode dealing with a few questions about my country. And so it's going to be a bit of a different one today. We won't do a student challenge. We won't do any student questions. We'll get straight into it. As usual, I will do IELTS questions. So you will hear my structures. You will hear some interesting language that you can use in the IELTS exam. But I'll talk about the UK, England, tourism here, the different culture, and hopefully give you a little bit of insight into my home country. Now, there's no language list for today because it's a bonus episode, but if you want the structures, go to www.britplus.net. That's where you'll find my textbook, so you can follow along with my answer structures. And we'll get straight into it today. I don't want to waste time. I want to give you some answers, part ones, part twos, part threes, and it's going to be totally UK theme. So I've got my questions here, and my first question is part one, of course. What comes to mind when you think of England? The obvious answer for me is that it's my home. It's my home nation, so I feel a lot of warmth to England because it's where I grew up until I was 21. In terms of other aspects that you might know, I think music comes to my mind. You know, bands such as the Beatles or Oasis. Food, I know a lot of people say British food is not good, but I do love roast dinner, full English breakfast, shepherd's pie. I've talked about this on the podcast before, so yes, that's what comes to my mind when I think of England. My next question, do you enjoy watching British TV shows or movies? Personally, I don't watch a great deal of dramas, movies, TV in general. So I'm not a big fan of TV. But when I do watch TV, I do like British dramas particularly. I think they have a different feeling than American dramas. They're a bit darker, a bit more wordy, less action. So to some people, that doesn't appeal. For me, I do enjoy that. Okay, how about you? I am curious because some of my students watch UK dramas. Do you like them? Do you feel a difference between UK dramas and US dramas? I'd love to hear, so do let me know in the comments. We'll go into a part two, and today's part two is to describe a famous landmark in England that you would like to visit. Okay, so I will choose somewhere I haven't been before. I've been to a number of places in the UK, but I'll choose somewhere I haven't been. Okay, so landmark I want to visit, 2 minutes on the clock. My time starts now. I'd like to tell you about the National History Museum in London. About 20 or 25 years ago, I went to London and I went to the English Science Museum, or London Science Museum. And I had a wonderful time there. I was really amazed at how big the Science Museum is and the incredible exhibits. There was a lot of interactive exhibits that we could get involved in and do experiments. And I had a fantastic time in the Science Museum. However, I never got a chance to go to the Natural History Museum in London, which is very famous. I've been to London a number of times. I went there throughout my childhood, and I think I went to most of the galleries and museums, but never the Natural History Museum. So let me tell you a little more about the Natural History Museum. I don't know a great deal about it, but I do know that it has incredible dinosaur bone exhibits where they've reconstructed dinosaurs so you can get a feeling of the scale. I think they've done the same with perhaps a blue whale, I seem to remember. But anyway, there are incredible exhibits there. It's enormous, and incredibly, I think it's such a good feature in the UK, it's free. So you can go in there for free, enjoy it, there's so much to do. I think you could spend a whole day there, to be honest. And yeah, as I said, that's a place I would love to go in the UK. For me personally, I'm interested in natural history. So I think it would really appeal to me and also my family. I think my daughter would love to visit there as well. So in the future, I really hope to have time is up. Okay. So it's a bit hard to hear that. I've got a little bit different equipment today, but my time is up. And yeah, I thought that was okay. I don't have much to say about the Natural History Museum, so that's why I mentioned quite a lot about the Science Museum. That was in order to fill out my answer. Let's go and do some part threes. What are the positive and negative aspects of living in a multicultural city like London? I'd say the biggest positive is that you can meet a huge diversity of people and therefore get more of a diversity of culture, like food, and you see different clothing and lifestyle. So that's a huge bonus. You know, I live in Seoul and I get that experience as well. Not as much as London, but I do get that experience. On the negative side, I'm not sure. I would say probably there can be friction between the different ethnicities, different cultures. I don't know a great deal about that, but you sometimes hear in the news that there's friction between different communities in a multicultural city like London. Good, okay, let's go to the next question. How important is tourism to the economy of England? I think tourism is really important for England. I don't know any statistics, but certainly there are so many tourists in London particularly, so it must have a big impact on the economy. During COVID, we lost a lot of tourism, and I know that a lot of restaurants, bars, hotels shut down and had a lot of difficulty because we lost all of that wonderful tourism. I think that there are some countries particularly, such as, certainly countries in Asia such as China, that come to London and spend a lot of money. So it must be important for the local economy. Right, last question. I'm going quite quickly today, it's going well. Let's do this last question. What are the potential drawbacks of having too many tourists? Well, I've done this question in another episode, and I remember I talked about pollution and erosion. That was recently. So I'm going to take a bit of a different angle this time. I'd say the potential drawback of having too many tourists is that it makes businesses more volatile. I think when there are so many tourists, businesses can suddenly be booming. You know, that in the country that the tourists have come from, perhaps the business appeared in a blog, suddenly it's a hot place for Chinese people, Indian people, Korean people, whoever. So the business is booming, and then it can lose popularity. So it makes business very volatile, I would say. That's something I've seen and heard about, because sometimes Koreans blog about famous, fish and chip shops in the UK. Business is booming, they have to expand, but then it loses popularity and they can go out of business. So I'd say that's a really big drawback of a lot of tourists. Great, well, that's everything I have for you today. I really enjoyed that. It's just a bit different. I'm here in the UK. I thought it was a good opportunity. I am flying back in 2 days. So I'll be back in my office next week. You'll see me back to the curriculum, back to the normal questions, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you are still studying very hard, and I'll be back next week. Bye-bye.